All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. We probably will have a few stragglers that come in as the process continues, but I want to welcome everybody to our webinar today. My name is Kevin McClellan. I am a local business owner in Cupertino, been in the community for a long, long time. I'm very happy to additionally work with the Small Business Development Center as an advisor, primarily working in our community, but also working with restaurants and other businesses in the area as well. Today we have a webinar that we're going to be talking about a lot of different funding opportunities and a lot of things that are going on. I know a lot of people have a lot of questions as they have been trying to get their businesses, keep their businesses operating and continue to try to move the business forward through this difficult time. And the first thing I want to do, though, is thank the city of Cupertino for hosting the video, and then thank the cities of Los Altos, Cupertino, Los Gatos, and Sunnyvale for helping to support and get the information out for this one. It's very, for me, it's always wonderful whenever we can visit the West Valley and try to add value for those businesses. A lot of time, a lot of the bigger cities in the area get a lot of attention. And so for me, it's always a great moment when we can spend some time with the West Valley and try to help those businesses that need as much, if not more attention as well. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and introduce Dennis King, who is my boss at the Small Business Development Center, to talk a little bit more about what we're going to do today and a little bit about the SBDC. So Dennis, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Kevin. Yes, my name is Dennis King. I'm the director of the Small Business Development Centers that serves here to the businesses of Santa Clara County. It's the SBDC, or Small Business Development Center, is the largest federal program under the SBA to provide assistance to small businesses and to entrepreneurs. It usually requires a local partner to do that, and we've been delighted for the last 10 years that our local partner is the County of Santa Clara. So thanks to the county, we're able to provide you services in a wide variety of areas to help your business. The area that we've been particularly pressed to address, certainly this past year, is the access to capital or access to funding. I don't think there's ever been a time like this in our lifetime with so much of stress, so much challenges to our small businesses, but particularly in terms of trying to find the links to the small bit to the resources that can be most helpful. The city of Sunnyvale, for example, and the city of Cupertino was quick to come up with their own plans to provide grants to some of the small businesses that operate in their communities that have been hard pressed. The county has been trying to do something likewise, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And of course, there's a wide variety of federal and state programs, and Ann will be speaking about those issues. This is a time of great stress, but it's also a time of opportunity. And it's hard in the darkness to be looking at the opportunities, but that's our challenge as a community, to see how do we help you survive and set the stage so that you can thrive in whatever this new normal is going to be, whenever it's going to be. So we want to try to stay as optimistic but as realistic as we can to be able to direct you to the resources that will get you to where you want to be. So it is my great pleasure to introduce our expert on finance, and that's Ann Height. Ann has been in banking for decades and has been a great resource to us as we try to work with you to discover the pathway to your success. So with that, if I can turn it over to Ann.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you to the cities of Cupertino, Los Altos, Los Gatos, and Sunnyvale for having us on to share our resources. Today, I wanted to start with the California Relief Grant, and if Ali could share that slide with us, please. Well, let me start with the agenda. The agenda we're going to cover today starts with the California Relief Grant, and we're going to touch on the California Rebuilding Fund, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, the Paycheck Protection Program, and Kiva. And next slide, please. Kevin is also going to cover COVID-19 business strategies and adjustments, and he'll cover all the updates as they relate to business. Clara, Kevin. Next slide, please. And Ellie was going to cover the disclaimer for us.
I'll go ahead and do that. So basically the webinar is going to be recorded, and we will send out copies to those that are attending. A lot of times people want to take a lot of notes, and for your benefit, it's much better if we can just have your attention and go through this with you, and you will know that you will have a reference to move forward. Also, there is some disclaimers on the right-hand side that you should read. It's all the legal stuff that we have to comply with. That's a part of all this stuff that, once again, you'll get a copy of.
Great.
Anne?
Thank you. And so we start with the California Relief Grant Program. The state of California and the California Office of Small Business Advocates are committed to ensuring small businesses have access and support, resources, and the capital that they need. And this support is fundamental to California's COVID-19 response. Grant amounts range from $5,000 up to $25,000, depending on gross revenues. There are 6 rounds of funding. Rounds 1 through 4 currently closed. Round 5 opens today, March 25th, and runs through Wednesday, March 31st. Notifications for round 5 will actually begin on April 5th. Round 6, applicants that were not selected for round 1, 2, 3, and round 5 will automatically be entered into round 6. And round 6's date is to be announced very soon. You should note that Lindustry is the operator of the program that were selected by the state, and the SBDC is one of the community partners that has been identified to help small businesses with this application process. Next slide, please. Some of the key factors for the grant recipients, and what this is talking about is how the grant recipients are determined. It starts with the geographic area where the business is located, and it's based on the distribution of the COVID-19 health and safety restrictions following the California's Blueprint for a Safer Economy and this county status in regional stay-at-home orders. Industry sectors that have been mostly impacted by the pandemic, and nonprofit services, mission services, mostly impacted by the pandemic, including but not limited to emergency food provision, emergency housing stability, childcare, and workforce development. Underserved communities of small business groups that are women-owned businesses, minority-owned persons of color-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, where at least 51% of the business is owned and operated on a daily basis by a minority owner. Also, businesses located in low to moderate income and rural communities. Next slide, please. The next program is the California Rebuilding Fund. This fund is a loan program to support California's small businesses, especially those located in economically disadvantaged or historically underbanked areas of the state. The maximum amount allowed under the program is $100,000 or up to 100% of your business's average monthly revenue for 3 months prior to the COVID pandemic outbreak. That would be in 2019 or early 2020, whichever is less. There are 2 loan programs, loan terms available, one at 36 months or 60 months, and the lender will determine which you qualify for. This is a part of the process where we work really closely with you to help you understand the numbers. The interest rate is at 4.25%, and it's fixed for the life of the loan, and it's based on the Wall Street Journal prime rate that's in effect on the day the loan funds. Repayment, interest only for the first 12 months. Borrowers can prepay the loan in whole or in part at any time without any penalties. There's no specific collateral required for these loans, and a blanket UCC lien is placed on business asset, and that will be filed by the lender. The California Rebuilding Fund is not a forgivable loan. The allowable uses for the proceeds include working capital, inventory, marketing, refitting for new social distancing guidelines, operating and emergency maintenance, property taxes, utility, rent, supplies, and other appropriate business purposes. What's not allowed under the program would be refinancing of another lender's loan. However, it may be noted that high-cost debt may be refinanced. A unique feature of this program is that the loan may include a minimal third-party fee of about $250, which is collected for recording and filing the UCC and possibly sending wires. Next slide, please.
Dan, before we go further, there's at least one other quick observation, if we can make, and that is this particular loan fund from the state of California is also backed by the Board of Supervisors of the County of Santa Clara. And in fact, a couple of months ago, they made a $6 million investment in this fund with the dedicated purpose that this is supposed to go to loans for San Jose-based businesses, or I should say Santa Clara County-based businesses. So in that case, there's a special interest from this rebuilding fund to particularly pay attention to businesses here in Santa Clara County. And as I understand the report that we just got, because we're watching this very carefully, we understand that some 40 businesses from Santa Clara County have already been funded, and that there's about 400 businesses that are in the queue to get funded. And altogether, that's going to represent about $35 million of loans. So it's a serious opportunity. It's got a special emphasis on those of us that are in Santa Clara County. So I think it bears a serious examination as an opportunity for you. Thank you, Ann.
We do have a question about where to apply for the rebuilding fund.
I think the best bet is to contact us as rapidly as you can, and we can help you prepare and walk you through that process.
And we're actually going to post a link in the chat so that in the Q&A, where you can actually find the e-center to sign up for services, which is also free. So next slide, please, Ellie. And thank you for that, Dennis. Now we come to the economic injury disaster loan. And this one comes with great news. The U.S. Small Business Administration is now tripling the maximum amount that a small business can borrow under the EIDL program. And this is an SBA direct program. So starting April 6th, the loan limit for EIDL loans will jump from 6 months of economic injury to a maximum loan amount of $150,000, which is what it was in the past, up to 24 months of economic injury with a maximum loan amount of $500,000. And that's a huge leap. The EIDL has a term of 30 years and a fixed interest rate of 3.75%. There is no prepayment penalties. There is, however, collateral required for loans over $25,000, and the SBA uses a security agreement in the form of a UCC to designate business assets as collateral. This EIDL loan is not forgivable, but the EIDL advance is, and although there Allocation of funds. Currently, there's none available, but I believe there are some disbursements that should be coming down, and the SBA will notify you when that happens. Allowable uses for the idle is typically your continuing working capital and normal operating expenses. Example would be continuation of healthcare benefits, rent, utilities, and fixed debt payments. What's not allowed under the program, proceeds cannot be used to refinance a loan. A unique feature of this funding program is that to meet the obligations and operating expenses that could have been met had the disaster not occurred. Next screen, please.
We do have a question that might be interesting here. It was asked that if somebody already has an idle loan, can they apply for an increase amount?
If they have an idle, I would look at how the application was submitted. I've been finding that some had errors depending on when they were submitted, and with the many changes, I would suggest that we look at each and every case individually to maximize the opportunities.
Thank you.
So to pick up where I left off, the idle is not forgivable, allowable use of funds, I covered that, all the unique features. And now we move to the targeted idle advance. So for the targeted idle advance, Congress has allocated an additional $20 billion for this. You may be in line to receive an idle advance if you are located in a low-income community and received an idle of less than $10,000, or you're located in a low-income community, you applied for the idle and didn't receive the funds because the program had no funding available. With the $20 billion advance being allocated, the SBA is reaching out to applicants and those who actually qualify. So there's nothing that the applicant needs to do. Just need to sit tight and wait for this to happen. With the new stimulus repeal, the requirement for the CARES Act that advance amount be deducted from the PPP, that's no longer happening. So there's more money available under the program. Next slide, please. Now we move to the Paycheck Protection Program. The Paycheck Protection Program has slightly different maximum amounts. For PPP 2, the maximum amount is $2 million. If you haven't applied for PPP loan yet, you'd be a PPP 1 borrower, and the maximum amount under that program is $10 million. There are 2 terms available. Loans made prior to June 5th, 2020 have a maturity of 2 years, and loans made after June 5th have a maturity of 5 years. There's a 1% interest rate if there's any portion of the loan that is unforgiven. And there's a 10-month deferral of payment after the covered 8 or 24 weeks. No collateral is required for this program and no personal guarantees. It's 100% forgivable if you meet the loan criteria. And if the borrower works with the lender, the SBA will actually process and remits the payment to the lender, and the borrower will be forgiven. Allowable uses, 60% of payroll costs, 40% or less on rent, utilities, and mortgage interest. What's not allowed under the program is workers' comp or workers' compensation, federal taxes, and mortgage principal. A very unique feature of the program is that it's designed to provide a direct incentive for small businesses to keep their workers on payroll. And the application deadline remains at March 31st unless it gets extended prior to that date. There may be a 2-month extension coming down the pipeline. Next slide, please, Ali. Eligible expenses under payroll, what is qualified are salaries, wages, vacation, parental, family, medical, or sick leave, health benefits, severance fees, payments of state and local taxes assessed for compensation. What's not included in this is compensation to non-US residents, compensation to independent contractors, compensation to an employee in excess of $100,000 per year, federal employment taxes imposed or withheld, and profit distribution and dividends. And next slide, please, Anna. The 40% eligibility portion on mortgage interest, rent, utilities, workers' protection, and miscellaneous other expenses make up that 40, like 60 with the payroll. Those are the portions that you can get your forgiveness on. Next slide, please. Preparing for your maximum loan forgiveness. This is the most critical piece of the PPP program, and it's simple, but yet critical. Keeping good records and books to prove that you've actually used the funds on what you say you've used them for. So keeping track of eligible expenses and their accompanying documentation over the 8 or 24 weeks. Having your complete financial statement for the end of the fiscal year. The lender will require these documents, possibly in digital format, because we're still in COVID. So take time to scan your papers and documents and keep backups of all your digital records. The lender and the SBA have the right to request and audit your business's financial documents and records. And you need to retain these documents for up to 4 years. The lender also has up to 60 days to respond to your forgiveness, and they've been a bit slow in doing so because they've been processing PPP 1s and 2s. But ideally, if they agree with the balances, if they agree and the balances are forgiven, then you are out of that PPP debt. Here at the SBDC, we are here to help you with your forgiveness documents, so please don't hesitate to reach out to us and sign up for services. Next slide, please, Ali. And Ali is going to cover for us the Kiva crowdfunding loan program.
Actually, I think it's my turn. So to make a comment is that we are always looking for the best resources that we can find that would be of value to those that we serve. And we have frequently run across people that have had problems either by their credit standings or a number of other issues that have gotten in the way where they don't have access to traditional lending. We have ended up working with and becoming a hub for Kiva. Kiva is a very unusual form of funding. It's crowdfunded. So instead of going to a bank, say for a $10,000 loan, crowdfunded would be getting 100 people to lend $100 each, or maybe 200 people that would lend $50 each is the basic concept. It's a community-based forum so that the community can support the small businesses that support the community. It's again, ideally for people who are looking for a small loan up to $15,000. The beauty of this is that it is interest-free. There's no penalty if you want to pay this off early. This often is a link to traditional funding, so that if you're waiting for a loan that's taking a long period of time, or you still have to work out things to be accepted to a traditional bank or credit union, a Kiva loan has been a really valuable bridge for those small businesses that are struggling and need resources right away. So again, give Kiva a consideration And the best bet is to, again, give us a call and we can give you more information to see if this is an appropriate resource for you. Okay. And of course, there's a lot of other moving parts, and it would be great, Anne, if you could make a quick summary on other considerations, other opportunities that's either right here or will be coming soon. You're on mute, Anne.
There are quite a few small funding programs that are available for small businesses. And the best way to determine which will work for you is to talk with us and let us drill down the financials, do an analysis, and then match you with the program. So there's some other programs like the California Rent Relief, which is a residential landlord, resident, or landlord or tenant can apply, so it goes both ways. There's the Employee Retention Tax Credit. There are several SBA credit facilities, such as the Debt Relief, the 7A, the 504, and the Express programs, which 7A, 504, and Express are typically through your SBA lenders. There's upcoming programs such as the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant for the arts um, industry and the restaurant revitalization, which the date is to be announced pretty soon. The SBA is always looking for opportunities and programs for federal, state, county, city, and private programs. So please sign up with us and let us help you to um, do the foundational work to help you make the best choice for your business down the road. And now we turn it over to Kevin to cover the.
Thank you, Anne. A lot of information there, a lot of good information. We're going to get to some of the Q&A here shortly. Wanted to accommodate a few more questions as well. There's a lot of information there, and when we talk about signing up for services, it's really important to reiterate that our services are free. We're a resource here for small businesses. I mean, that's exactly what we're here for. And so whenever I put in the chat, and we'll put it again, we are here to work with you and help you. And it's one of the things that I'm most proud of, because a lot of businesses, as you know from being a small business owner, wonder what's available for you, wonder what the help that you can get would be, and how much it's going to cost you in order to be able to move your business forward or get the answers that you need. And while the cities are a super great resource, and there's a lot of people that are very helpful, we partner with those cities to deliver the actual side-by-side help. We walk the path with you to make sure that you can kind of get through it. Before I get into a lot around opening, reopening, and issues around that, I'm going to invite Angela Sway from the city of Cupertino to join us. One of the things that's really important that people realize is that if you are in a city, there are requirements, and a lot of cities have enacted different ordinances and different expedited permitting process that will allow for the outdoor part of the business. And it also covers businesses that are opening. And so I want Angela to just take a few moments, if she would, to not only thank you for being the host of this, but to also highlight some of those ordinances and expedited permitting issues that are available in Cupertino.
Thank you, Kevin. And again, thank you to the amazing staff at SBDC and to the cities of Los Altos, Los Gatos, and Sunnyvale for co-hosting today's meeting to bring this information to you all. Just a reminder, and as Kevin said, the city of Cupertino is offering a number of different permits to help our small businesses be able to operate during the pandemic and during the adjusting to all the different health orders. So one of which is the temporary outdoor dining permit, the special temporary outdoor operations permit, and that would be for other retail businesses and gyms to be able to operate outdoors. We also are offering a temporary signage permit for businesses to be able to promote, they're open now, any operational changes and hours. And again, all of those are expedited permits and processes without any fees. And again, just for the folks who are in the neighboring communities, I really do encourage you to reach out to your economic development manager, specialist, coordinator, because they are the ones who can really help you connect with local resources, especially partnering with the SBDC and their advisors. And again, as Anne mentioned earlier, make sure to reach out to the SBDC. Their services are free of charge, and these are really extremely qualified folks who have been doing this, and their passion really is to be able to help small businesses like yourselves through this time, and with the most current information that's available. So again, thank you. And thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Angela. Really appreciate it. So yeah, you absolutely want to reach out and make sure that you are talking with your local city to make sure that whatever those issues or permitting or ordinances that may affect your businesses being open, especially if you're expanding into the outdoor spaces, it's super important that you make sure that you fill that out. Over the long term, the answer is conditional use permits, but that's for another time and another topic. We know that everybody's been through a whole lot, and the good news is that it seems to be getting better. But as it is getting better, one of the most important things that we talk about is, Anne mentioned that there's a whole lot of money that is available, different types of loans that may or may not be suitable for your type of business. But along with that money, you heard her mention, especially with the PPP, that some of it's for payroll, some of it's for other things. One of the most important other things that your access to capital or your capital that you're generating should be used for is making the pivot to this new environment. COVID has changed everything, and we're living it every day. One of the most important things you can do for your business is not only to reopen now safely and to continue to be able to expedite and expand that reopening process to grow your revenue, but also now's the time to really rethink your business, to really rethink what you can do. And we're going to give some examples. I'm primarily going to be using restaurants. Restaurants are primarily the largest level of retail that we have out in the industry. And it's one that is near and dear to my heart that I've been working with for a long time. And really being able to explain that in those terms allows me to give you guys some really concrete examples. But whenever we talk about reopening, as is listed here, the most important thing to really look at is your employees. And it's not only bringing them back, it's not only bringing them on board with the new requirements that COVID has brought for us, but it is also making sure that you're matching the needs of the scheduling. And it's hard to do, but as you work through your reopening, making those constant adjustments and being able to add those employees back are super important. The most important part is really having a budget, making sure that you are meeting that employee piece with the budget. When it comes to your customers, it really is, especially for a restaurant, being able to implement that dine-in, the takeout, and the delivery. We're going to talk about that a little bit more, but just wanted to highlight that one of the things that we've seen with a lot of restaurants is that they've just taken their menu that they had pre-COVID and for dine-in, and now that's their takeout and delivery program as well. Without any rethinking of what that process is going to be. Now, the good news is they went from dine-in to be able to get a lot of their stuff online, but there's even still some restaurants right now that you have to call up, place your order, and go pick it up. And so as we're talking about pivoting and adjusting your business, if you don't have any online access for takeout and delivery, that's something that we should absolutely talk about. It's going to be a real important key to have that be able to come in digitally. A lot of people are ordering stuff from their phone on their way to a restaurant, and being able to accommodate those customers is going to really kind of open up that opportunity for you to grow your revenue. The other big piece for the customers is the dining and service area setup. And this ties back to your employees to the extent that it's really important, as we know, last October, when we were able to reopen our restaurants to indoor dining, it closed almost immediately, if not immediately, because things got worse. We know there's a lot of different strands of COVID out there. We know that it's not over, but things are improving, especially with vaccinations. But it's super important as an operator, a retail operator, restaurant or not, that you're making sure that your areas are safe, that your employees get it, and that you have a constant plan to be able to service those areas in a responsible way. When it comes to your vendors, it's the same. Being able to have those relationships and being able to manage them through your delivery schedules, being able to have the stuff that you need on time, super important. Once again, things have changed, and you may need, as you get to reopen into the orange level, more stuff that you needed in the other ones. And being able to make those adapting and conversations with your vendors is super important. The worst thing that can happen is that which is also the best thing, is that your business goes up, but you're not ready for it. When we're talking about revenue, being able to have a budget is super important. One of the things that I have seen over and over again, especially with small business owners, is they really haven't taken the time to get a solid budget and a cash flow plan. They know kind of what they need to operate each month, and that's great, but they really don't have a budget that they've established in order to obtain some level of cash flow and profitability for the business, and one that stretches out 3, 6, or a year down the road. It's super important, and it's really important for the next piece, because being able to work with your inventory and ordering systems is super important. Once again, a lot of people know what they need. They go around and they just order what they need, but they don't really have a usage base. They don't really have a sales and usage base for doing that. And it's really important for profitability and really being able to make the most out of your business during these difficult times, that these systems get tightened up. And if you don't have good systems, that you either get them or you get help with them. And one of the things that I put here is as far as plates being costed out correctly, because one of the things that we see time and time again on people's menus is they look for what the market can bear as far as what they charge. They're not really looking for, they don't really have an accurate idea of what their place costs and what the impact to the business from revenue and cost is. And it's super important, once again, that at this time, to be able to set yourself for success to go forward over the rest of this year and most of next year, at least until we know we're going to be as far back to normal as we possibly are going to get, that these things happen. Next slide, please. Now, when we're talking about leveraging technology, there's a lot of ways to do that. And once again, the example I mentioned on the previous slide is getting to an online example for takeout and delivery. If people still have to call your business in order to get takeout or delivery food, you're about a year behind the process. So it's just stuff like that. One of the things that is really good about the Small Business Development Center is that we have different experts for all kinds of stuff that is tech-based. A lot of it can be just managing the business, but some of it can be the social media stuff as well. One of the things I wanted to highlight here is the automated systems. One of the things, there's a lot of tools out there now, and if there's anything that you're doing that is a manual process that you do over and over again, there's ways to automate those things now. And that's just one amazing example of how you can really save time in your business and ensure that a repeatable process happens over and over again. And one example that I like to use that isn't the best as far as from a restaurant perspective is still a good example, that I use a program called Calendly to schedule calls and meetings. One of the things that I was able to do using a program called Zapier is when somebody schedules that meeting, it goes right into my client relationship software. It used to be that it would come into my inbox, then I'd have to put it on my calendar, and then I'd have to determine if it was a Zoom or not. And now all that stuff is handled automatically. The minute somebody signs up for a conversation with me, it goes into the right bucket where if it is a Zoom meeting, it gets scheduled, but all of it goes into my calendar and is done automatically. For businesses, this could be just automating your information that goes from your menu sales, being able to take those menu sales and have them automatically get ported over to a ordering system that will actually aggregate your usages so that you can have a more accurate order based on what you actually sold, so that you don't have to just say, well, we went through a case of lettuce. You can actually see how much lettuce you should have gone through versus how much you ordered as an automatic process. And that will actually help you not only to maybe curtail waste, but also to be able to get your ordering right. So there's a lot of information that is inside your businesses, and being able to automate some of those systems is really important. The same thing with social media. You know, a lot of people are trying to do that themselves. So the two things I would say is have some group that you're working with for social media, and then once again have those posts be automated, utilizing the different platforms that are available. I think that especially in the restaurant business, everybody knows that you need to be in multiple social media platforms and getting your information out there and keeping your information refreshed. A lot of people really need a better strategy to do that. And if you don't have one now, once again, now's a good time to rethink that process. Next slide. So this is one example of technology that's leveraged. You know, QR codes were really popular several years ago, and they've made a resurgence. And the reason that they've made a resurgence is that with our iPhones, we now have the ability to, with our cameras, to open up our camera and focus on that QR code, and it will actually take us to where you need to go. And for restaurants, this is the best thing you could do for your menus. One of the guidelines that came out is that for a restaurant, you should be using a one-time use only menu, or some kind of QR digital process. Having this QR code on the table would take people to your online, once again, online menu that you have available. And in some cases, you can even place the order there, although, you know, a lot of people are still utilizing their food servers, and that's absolutely fine. But for people to be able to sit down, use their cameras on their smartphones, bring up your menu, and to start get an idea will really save the contact of people handling a lot of menus and the issues that can happen with potentially passing on some trouble with that. This QR code specifically, if you did hold up your phone and actually try it, will take you to the Small Business Development Center website where you can sign up for services, believe it or not. Next slide, please. So we talked about complying with city stuff when it came to the permitting process and what you need to do in order to be able to get reopened from a permitting or city emergency conditional use process. But one of the bigger issues is really changing the environment for COVID. And you know from what you've read or what you've looked at least hopefully you do, that there needs to be spacing. In a restaurant, the tables need to be spaced out at least 6 feet. In some cases, plexiglass can be used. There needs to be a really robust cleaning and disinfection and sanitation process. And one of the most important pieces of this is the ventilation. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but any restaurateur that's been around for any amount of time knows that balancing the air in the restaurant is something that you need to do no matter what. With the imbalance that the hoods create by drawing the smoke out of the kitchen, it's really important that you rebalance that so that you're not taking all of your air conditioning and sending it through the roof. And so balancing should be a part of it anyway. But especially with COVID, there's different things that need to happen with the ventilation to make the environment safe. And especially now that we are at the orange level where you can have even more people in the dining room, if you don't have a ventilation process, then I would probably hold off on doing that. The county is looking at different requirements. Make sure you know those. Don't want to do a deep dive into this one, but this is one that the county is very engaged with. And your local health department will be checking on the different processes with ventilation over time. So really big, important part as far as reopening, especially when it comes to indoors. Next slide. So before I jump into this one, one of the things that I wanted to mention is all of the partners that you have. You know, we talked about it earlier with working with your city and working with the Small Business Development Center. There may be even other groups like local chambers of commerce and other local business organizations that can help you as well. Really lining up all of those different groups that can help you is going to be super important to your business succeeding. It really is going to take a whole team in your community to help get through all this. What I'm going to highlight now is some of the good news about where we stand. I mean, the two great things about being able to have our webinar today is the first one is that it is the day that the California program opens up for the brief period in time. So we were able to highlight that you need to get your applications in for that. The next one is that it's now the day after we now go to the state's orange tier in our county. And I saw a deal on the news that the Homestead lanes for bowling were reopened. So I now have the opportunity to go continue to see what a bad bowler I am, but at least I can do it indoors again. But one of the great things about hitting this tier, and you can see it from the slide, we're just going to highlight some of these things. Indoor dining is at a maximum of 50% or 200 people. Most dining rooms these days don't even have the space for 200 people, but there are some large spaces out there, and that's why there's that cap on that one. The retail stores have some other modifications as well, but mostly they are open for business. Gyms, fitness centers, 25%. Movie theaters, same deal, the 50% or 200. Family entertainment centers like bowling alleys and other entertainment centers. And then once again, the zoos, museums, and aquariums. Really looking forward to seeing a lot of these reopen. The most important part of this for all of us is to try to keep it here. And I think that that's one of the reasons why we were talking about not, all the different pieces. Being able to get your business open, being able to keep it financed and have access to capital to keep going until you can generate enough revenue to keep going on your own. But really the main goal for all this stuff, whether it's getting help from the Small Business Development Center, working with your local Chamber of Commerce business organizations in your city, the main goal is for us to try to stay at this orange tier. At this orange tier and beyond is where we really get that opportunity to grow revenue and to get back to where we were. One of the saddest parts about the COVID-19 story, and you all know this, is that before we went into this, the economy was doing great. Our businesses were doing great. There was a lot of good stories out there that were only poised to do better. And then this hit. And since then, there's been uncertainty. There's been a lot of difficulty. And in some cases, a lot of sadness. But there is hope on the horizon now, and how we seize this moment and take advantage of it to change our businesses and to set our businesses up for success is huge. And really what the goal for us doing this today is to try to help you with that leg up to do that. Next slide, please. So we're going to jump into some of the Q&A now. Want to bring back Dennis and Ann, if they could unmute and come back so we can talk about some of these things. The first one was from Catherine, our friend from Los Gatos Chamber of Commerce. Welcome and happy to have you on the webinar today. Do you know what's included in the restaurant revitalization fund? A lot of that's still being cleared up, and we are actually hoping to have some additional guidance for that and actually be able to help have an internal program. I don't know if Dennis wants to add anything to that, but this is a huge one for me, as most of you know, as I mentioned earlier, helping restaurants to really make sure that whatever is available is really communicated and out there. Dennis?
So first of all, hi, Catherine. Good to hear from you. So we're watching carefully. So these rules and opportunities are changing on a day-by-day basis. So the good news for us is that we're very closely tied to SBA. SBA based the regional office in San Francisco and us have been in regular contact, especially as things unfold. The notice I got the day before yesterday indicates that $28.6 billion in grants are going to be dedicated to the hard-hit hospitality sector as part of the $1.9 trillion budget for the American Rescue Plan, which sounds great. So I said, send us the details. And the message I got the day before yesterday is details are coming. Nothing specific to announce yet. There's no formal date for the launch that's been set yet. So so here we go. We want to be able to help, but we don't quite have that information. I did get an invitation yesterday to get to our people. I haven't sent that out yet. Is that there's going to be at least 2 informal workshops with SBA to talk about the shuttered plan and then we hope with this one as well. So while we don't have a lot of specific information today, I'm hoping that we'll have a much more definitive answer next week.
The good news is that it's coming. So,
Yes.
I mean, that's something to be really excited about. I was really happy, clearly, to hear this one.
Yeah, it passed
You all,
signed by the president, so it's on its way. It's just we're not quite sure exactly the details.
it's kind of the same thing with the commercial relief for landlords. There's a lot of stuff going back. Dennis, do you have any updates on that one as well? Um, I talked with some of our real estate friends, and they say that things keep kind of going back and forth, but they're hoping for some good outcomes here too, where landlords get a little bit of relief in addition to the people that are renting. Dennis, anything? No?
Oh, I think that's, maybe we should ask Angela if we should do this again.
So there was one. Daniel Lotus says that his wife and he applied for a loan to refinance the home mortgage at a lower interest rate. A clause in the application indicated he agreed not to apply for the PPP loan, and others may face that constraints. And that's good to know about Kiva. Anne, have you heard anything about that?
No, and I don't understand why a mortgage lender would have that kind of clause in their loan application. So what I would suggest to Daniel is let's have a sit down. It may be because if he's doing business loan and a mortgage loan at the same time, the two lenders might not have the same risk profile for what they're trying to do. And he may lose out on the opportunity for both as opposed to having them done sequentially and in the right order.
Excellent, thank you. Daniel had another question about networking, connecting with potential partners. When it comes to networking, that's one of the reasons why I mentioned your local Chamber of Commerce. They are going to be your best resource as far as networking with other people and clients. And once again, you've got cities that are working together and chambers that are working together. One of the neat things about one of the good things, I should say, that's come out of the COVID-19 is that a lot of the chambers of commerce have done joint, more joint mixers than they have in the past, with opportunities to meet other people. And I would absolutely, connect you with your local chamber of commerce to do just that. If it's with potential suppliers, that's something that we can help explore with you. But the work is going to primarily be done with you as a part of the work that we do together. So I hope that answers your question on that one.
Kevin, can we interject a moment? So I'm still really bothered by Mr. Lotus's question. And I think Ann did a good answer, is that it raises questions. So if his mortgage was being supplied by an SBA sanctioned bank, whether it would be if he had used a 504 or 7A, those should be very compatible with the PPP programs and other programs. They should be in harmony with one another. So when you're hearing a mortgage basically putting arm's distance with SBA resources, that raises a flag. I think getting an opportunity for Ann to take a look at that, for us to say, wait a minute, this doesn't really pass the sniff test. I think we need to look at that a little bit more deeply.
Definitely.
And then CPU Hugh says that they heard that Santa Clara County and the city of San Jose will administer their own California rent relief programs, and who should they contact?
So two things. One is the county was definitely looking at it. Supervisor Simidian and Ellenberg were championing the idea of having a grant program or a loan program coming from the county. As they studied the matter, they determined that it was best for them to be able to invest in an existing program, and that was the California Rebuilding Fund, instead of doing a county program itself. As I've mentioned earlier, they have invested $6 million with the intent of those loan funds being directed specifically to small businesses here in Santa Clara County. They are studying and putting into the budget another 19 million if this is a viable program. It appears on face value As I mentioned, some 40 businesses have already been funded. There's apparently, as of last Friday, 495 businesses that have applications in the process. So it's indicating that that loan program is meeting needs. If anything, there's a roadblock, and we're going to see if we could step up to, because of the relationship with SBA, to see if we can facilitate that moving faster. Now,
And
the city of San Jose, oh, go ahead, Ann.
I was just going to add that on the California Rebuilding Fund, the interest rate at for 4.25% is not a bad deal. Um, it's the qualification to get there, and because that underwriting is so relaxed, it makes it an attractive program, much better than a lot of the nano and micro programs that I'm looking at out on the street. So, it's great to take a look at that program.
Now, it relates to the city of San Jose. The city of San Jose received some special federal COVID funding last year. They'll get another sum this year. I don't believe that the city of San Jose has worked out all the definitive plans for this year. But among the programs they did last year was a program that started out as 3.5 million and it grew to a 4 million grant program for rent relief. We were actually the managers of that. So through us, some 300 businesses in San Jose received grants of up to $15,000 specifically for rent. We're going to be going back to them to see, well, what's next? And also because the grants were specifically to the landlords, it didn't really speak specifically to the other needs. So we recognize that that was quite an achievement for the city of San Jose, quite a commitment to be able to do that. And like everything else, it's not enough. And so we're looking at other venues, other opportunities to be able to provide to the small businesses throughout the county.
This is Allie. If CPQ is interested in the landlord California rent relief program, I will post the link to that, but that's mainly for residential. It's not for commercial, and it's for both landlords and tenants.
Thank you, Allie. Okay, so as we, the next one was so being a multiple social media platform applies to all of us, and they just registered for the SBDC, so thank you, and I look forward to engaging with us. So that's a great comment, and I really do like the comment that you love the QR codes on the restaurant tables. That was a little tongue-in-cheek for me, especially putting in the SBDC site, so thank you all for indulging me in that. But I wanted to see the process myself, and it actually took less than 2 minutes for me to generate that QR code and put it into the slide. So I know that it is an easy thing to do. The problem that you see with a lot of restaurants is getting over that hurdle with some of this technology, understanding it, and then being able to implement it. And so I put it there, as much as an example, as to have a little tongue in cheek with that. So I'm glad at some level that you enjoyed it, but I do hope that it's also useful for restaurants to utilize and to help get the word out at how easy it is to do that. A lot of restaurants are still utilizing menus, and that's really not going to be the best thing for us going forward. We've got another comment that says, I've already received my PPP2 loan. However, the amount was based on net profit method. Is there anything I can do to have it adjusted to the new gross profit calculation method?
Unfortunately, no. Quite a few banks have not adjusted their system to go from the line 31 to the line 7 gross income. And a lot of parties felt pressured to take what was available. If you did, I'm sorry, you're stuck with that. If the loan's been funded.
Yeah. I had an email yet.
So that what we could do is look at your financials overall and see what other opportunities you can take advantage of and the impact that it would have on your portfolio.
Excellent. I received an email yesterday from Cupertino that was talking about a gal that had gotten an EIDL loan but did not get the grant. Is there a way for them to go back, or did they not? I mean, what do you think the best determination for them going forward would be, Ann?
They just need to sit tight. Everybody who applied for the grant is in a queue. If they did not receive the 10,000 or the full 10,000, let's say they receive 4,000, the remaining six will catch up to them. So the SBA will send that money to them. They will reach out to them. The SBA will reach out to them directly. There's nothing for anybody to do but sit tight and wait.
I knew the answer to that one, but I wanted you to reiterate that one because it is super important. There's so much frustration with people that have unfortunately had to wait because, once again, there's been a mad rush to a lot of these programs. And these programs were just are less than a year old, all of them. It's like to go from scratch on these major funding programs that, account for, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, is really quite a feat if you think about it. But there's still got to be some bugs in the machinery for all this stuff, and some of it is going to take time. Another question is that this individual has a client who is a 1099 and is a wine rep. Could she qualify for anything as a business owner?
It depends. We need to know about timing. When was the business started? What was the purpose of the business, the industry? There's a lot we need to know. So I would suggest that Christina reach out to us and we can chat.
Awesome. The next question is, if you have a primary bank which awarded you the first PPP, offers you a second PPP, and then withdraws it, what can the business do, especially since the deadline is March 31st?
Talk to a business advisor today. I would look at the reason the bank withdrew the second offer. A lot of the devil is in the details. We need to figure out why they did that. And so a lot of sorting out the financials and documentation is probably required to answer that question.
Excellent. The next question is one that's near and dear to a lot of people, and that's Vicki Reese, that says, any idea when bar with food can have indoor live music in Santa Clara County? That's probably the answer that we all want to get, and I wish that I had a valid answer. It really comes down to the tier levels and whenever things are safe. So the better job that we can all do to get these establishments open safely and keep them operating safely over time and COVID improving is really going to be when that's impacted. But that's got to be one of the questions that comes up each and every time, is everybody's wants to get back to live music inside. And I think we all look forward to that.
I was hoping that the answer to that would be for St. Patrick's Day. So I've had to adjust, be flexible. And so now I'm hoping for Cinco de Mayo.
Good answer. A good question is, where is the SBDC office in Sunnyvale? And so the main thing is that we don't have a specific office in each of the cities. It's funny because one of the conversations that I had just before COVID hit was with Angela Sway in Cupertino. We were at a favorite coffee spot there, and we were just discussing that, is how we could actually bring potentially office hours to a city. Right now, we are located through our advisors in each and every city, but there aren't specific offices. Our actual office is in San Jose, and once again, we're not really taking a lot of clients in the office because of COVID at this point. So at this point, it's not a huge what.
I think that's why God created Zoom.
Yeah, well, at this point, it really is the primary way that a lot of us are operating, whether or not we were in the city or not. And one of the things that I want to mention here is that Ann and I, and myself, and a few other of the SBDC advisors are going to be hosting for the West Valley specifically office hours, and we're going to do that over a Zoom meeting. And so that'll come out as a follow-up from the webinar. So when you sign up for the webinar, we'll get a copy of that. We're going to send out the link for that Zoom, or you'll be able to find it on our SBDC site. But every Wednesday from 11 to noon, we are going to host SBDC office hours. And the main goal is to really help with, especially over the short run, access to capital and pivoting the business, and really helping some of these programs that are going to be coming online, like the restaurant program that's coming out of the federal government and others that are in the area, So to kind of help with all of the confusion, we're going to be holding regular office hours for the next 4 Wednesdays for sure, and more if we need it. And more than happy to share that link out there, because we do see, and the reason for our webinar today is to really get this information out there. And if it's not today that we can actually directly help people, it will be over the next few weeks, and we're happy to do that. Another question, are there any grants, loans specifically made for live events industry? Trade show exhibit provider, and their industry is still completely shut down. It seems we are the forgotten bunch that no one talked about.
Yes.
They may be able to access the shuttered venue.
Shutter business, yeah.
Yeah, there are, it's not just for venues, it's people within the industry can also apply, but we need additional details since the program hasn't launched yet. But I'm hoping you're included in that list of eligible applicants.
So SBA did invite us yesterday to attend one of their workshops, I think on Monday,
Uh-huh.
to be able to get up to date on the nuances of this particular program. So to follow on what you said, Kevin, we should certainly have a lot more information by the time of next Wednesday's open session like this. So we could certainly encourage people to either be in touch with us or to come back on Wednesday, and we should have more specific information.
Yeah, and it's hard. Every time I hear a story like that or read a line like that, it's hard. I mean, we know that this has been just an awful year in so many ways, and what I'm thankful for is all of the, like today, all the cities that have come together, all the chambers of commerce that have come together, all the business organizations along with the SBDC that are out there pounding the pavement, trying to come up with the answers to be able to provide those quickly for local businesses so that they can get back to work with the help that they need. And so the hope that we could get from everyone on the call today is that you do spread the information. There's going to be links to this video that go out to you. It's going to be on the City of Cupertino's YouTube website for replay for anybody that wants to even reference through. But really the main goal is us working together and continue to work together as a community to get these businesses reopened and revenue generating at any level. The shuttered businesses for me are the hardest ones because there isn't any clear answer when that's going to stop, whenever we're going to be able to have live concerts, when we're going to be able to have the different live events. And so those people that rely on those that revenue for their job, it's still a tough moment. With that, I'd like to just pass it off to either Dennis and or Ann for any closing comments as we wrap up.
Actually, my encouragement to the small business owners and entrepreneurs is that we, as advisors at the Soha Valley SBDC, are really dedicated to seeing your business survive and thrive through this pandemic and beyond. The type of work that we do really helps your bank make good and quick decisions because we help you with the work that they don't want to do for you. We help to package your loans, help you have better conversation with the lenders, and help you to make solid decisions for your business because getting a loan or a grant in a vacuum is great, but it's even better when you can leverage it to take your business to the next level. And that's what we're here for. So please don't hesitate to reach out and take advantage of our services. Yes.
And Kevin said it right on target. So the only thing I would add, well, maybe two things, but certainly I would add that, yes, we deal with a number of different government agencies. We also deal with a number of different funding sources, both banks, credit unions, alternative lenders. When we do so, we don't represent them. We represent you. The bottom line for us as an SBDC program, we're on your side. We're not trying to sell you anything. We just want to see that you're successful. When you are successful, we're successful, the community is successful. this, as Kevin said, as a community, we're all in this together. And so if we can help you succeed, that's great. That's what we're all about. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to take one last minute to thank the cities and the chambers of commerce in the West Valley, especially for their ongoing support, and really look forward to being able to continue to be a resource for those cities and chambers of commerce in working together to get these businesses not only reopened, but to rethink and to grow through this hard time. So I want to thank all of you that have taken the time today to be a part of this. It's ongoing work. And some of it is difficult, but what our hope is that each business needs to just do it one time. We're going to do it over and over again, and with that expertise, we're going to be able to help people to get back to work more quickly. So I want to thank everyone again for joining us, and we look forward to future versions. And that's all for today. So thank you for joining us.
See you next week.